turn it over to Keith Folse. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share screen, and I'm going to do this what I've learned is a better way to do, which is to share the whole nasty desktop, which you see I cleaned it up though, because I knew I had company coming today. So I cleaned up my desktop. If you're like me, before you do a presentation, the first thing you do is I take every folder but the main one, and then whatever I'm doing today, and then put it into a new folder called today or the date. The problem is I have multiple folders inside of folders. It's nice and neat looking now, but I know that if you saw the desk, my office right now, that's what that desktop looks like. So thanks so much. So my topic today, as Michael said, is about looking at our classes from the learner's perspective, something that we rarely have to do. I think very few teachers have had a chance in their professional career to actually take a break and go study Bulgarian or go study Korean. I mean, not just sit there with a book in a coffee shop, but go enroll in a Korean course where you're not near your family or your work, whatever. It's truly what you're going to go do for 6 weeks or something like that. And those of us who have been able to do it, it's amazing. First of all, because you're not teaching for a while, which allows you to recharge your batteries. And when you go back, you're all revved and ready to go. I'm a different person every time I have a small break like that. But today I'm going to talk about my recent experiences where I've been in an online class. And so I know that when I ask teachers, I usually say, how many of you had training? How many of you had an online class? Almost all the hands go up. But when I press people, they'll say, well, we had training one Saturday, or we did at my university, we all get paid $500 to go through online training. This is pre-COVID. And maybe it was $1,000 at one point to go through online training where you have to complete 6 Fridays, all day Fridays, because a lot of people don't teach on Friday. So Friday was a designated day. You have to produce something at the end, a little module. For those of us who have taught online, as most of us in this place, in the session today have, that making one module in Canvas is not, okay, it's wonderful. First one you do is wonderful because you finally did it. But in the grand scheme of things, one little module is nothing, okay? It's like having 3 worksheets for the semester. I'm so ready, I have 3 sheets. Yeah, good luck with that. So they make a little module and then they go, yep, I've had online training. And at my university, then no one wants to teach online. The language people will say, we can't learn a language online. Well, now the past year when your choice was you will teach online or you will have no job, all those doubters all these years, oh, we can do this for sure, right? Because you want to be employed. I get it. But it has pushed colleagues that I know who had the training in theory to go do something. But most people haven't really done something online, and people haven't been a student. When you had training on a Saturday morning, you showed up, you drank coffee the whole time, you had to turn in something at the end of group work, you got a check mark, and that was it. No, I mean a real class where I have to turn in something by Sunday night. That's tomorrow night for me. I have 26 hours to turn in my German homework, which I haven't even started yet. I'm a real student. If that sounded, everybody I know, when I talk to other students, I'm 62. The people who are the opposite, 26, they all tell me they live by 11:59 p.m. And you may have that scenario too. But first, before I jump into too much, I want to thank 2 groups today. I want to thank the Code TESOL organizers, especially Michael. I've heard you say several times, this is the 8th and whatever. Yeah, I get it. For those of us who've actually organized a conference, you know how much work this is. When I tried to find just now some information about my session tonight, some details I wanted to know, I had to go back into emails from maybe 5 months ago. So these things just don't get organized last week or even 2 weeks ago. It's been in the process for a while. Another organization that I have learned as a teacher, when the emergency Zoom teaching hit, and in the United States, it happened last March, where I was out on spring break. I was in Argentina. We kind of knew things were getting kind of weird in the States. I decided to do my spring break. I went to Argentina, came back. When I came back, it wasn't the same airplane scenario anymore. You weren't touching knobs anywhere. We were carrying, anyway, it changed. But when I came back, I take great pride in my teaching. As many people here, I love teaching. This is not something I do for a paycheck. It's what I do. I'd almost do it without the paycheck. I just don't want to tell my university. But the bottom line is I love what I do, and I think I'm good at it. And I wanted to be just as good in this new emergency Zoom situation that we were in as I was, I thought, I hoped, in the real world, okay? In the the present, the face-to-face classes. So I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel. I'm a Facebook user. Facebook here in the States, they're making money because they're not promoting Facebook to talk to your friends anymore. They're promoting Facebook as groups. That number one ad here for Facebook in the United States, for those who don't know, is it's men taking care of plants. It shows men crying over their dead plants. They're trying to hit groups. So I found this group. I found a group called Teaching Synchronously Online Using Zoom in Korea. There are 569 members. If you're not, there are many people in this session today. I blued out. That blue square is some of you I see right now, your pictures are there, but I didn't have permission to do that, so I blued everybody out. So, but many people in today's session are in this group. If you're not and you want to join and you have a Facebook account, just request to become a member. I learned so much. People would just hold your hand, and you know how we say there's no such thing as a stupid question? That's how I felt here. Yeah, look, there were stupid questions. I'm asking some of the stupid questions, but nobody made me feel that way. So that was a godsend to me this past long COVID year. All right, so let's see, let's get started here, jumping in. So I'm going to talk today about a German class that I took in the fall, which was August to December, German 1, Deutsch 1, and I am now in Deutsch 2. I'm in Deutsch 2, German 2 at a different university, because my university where I took German 1 is face-to-face, and I'm not willing to do that yet. So I found a college where they use the same book. I have the same teacher because she's a part-time teacher. Everything's the same. So this is a course, and I'll talk about it a little bit. I became a German student, a real student who had to turn in stuff on a schedule, in theory. Two kind of people, two kind of experiences here. You know, I tell you what has changed my whole concept of how my class is set up online. It's not the same anymore, because things that I put a certain way as a student, it wasn't until week 4 in German 1, I found that she was making videos for us every week. I didn't know that. How would I have known? Because you know what students pay attention to? Many of you use Canvas or something like Canvas. When you give something points, and people will say it's gamification, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not anti-gamification, but when you give something points in Canvas or whatever your LMS, your learning management system is, then it automatically has to have a date. When you give it a due date, it then doesn't populate that start here button or course schedule button. It populates the home page in a box that the teacher cannot control. It's the box of coming up is what it's called. And you know how I do my class? As a student, I click on coming up. Well, I don't have to click, it's right there. It says coming up. So it'll say quiz number 7. Well, I go click on quiz 7 and find out, can we take it more than one time? If it's only one time, I guess I have to go read the module. I guess there's a module for it. Which module is it? I'm an way experienced teacher, an experienced language learner, and I'm in this class because I want to be here, not because I need a check mark in English 3, all right? So I want to be here, and I'm not able to navigate some things. Imagine the people who don't want to be here. So I'm going to talk about some of those things, but one big word of advice. For example, in my classes, I make a weekly video Saturday sometime that'll start on Sunday. It says, welcome to week 7. If we were in a face-to-face class, I'd walk in on Monday and say, I read your papers. They were pretty good. I haven't finished them all. That's what I say in my video. I make a video, and I make the video worth 1 point. Once you make the video worth 1 point, and you give it a due date, like Tuesday, don't make it Monday at 8 a.m. Make it a little bit of a grace period there. Or if you have a hard due date, like Monday at 8 a.m., you know how you can have a date when it closes? I have colleagues that something starts it's due at 8 a.m. on Monday, and they shut it down at 8 a.m. on Monday. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Stuff happens. I have stuff that's late because it's late. Take points off if you want, but when you close it out, I'm going to write you an email. My students write me. I end up renegotiating with most of them and reopening the stuff anyway. Save yourself a headache. Just make it 3 or 4 extra days, but give it a point, 1 point value. What's the assignment? The assignment says type, I watched the video. That's all you do. I watched the video. Or true, false, I watched the video. True is okay and false is okay. Anything's okay, because if you chose not to watch the video, not a Keith Folse problem. My number 1 goal is to make sure that you see, or you have a chance to see, all of the pieces that I would like you to see. Yeah, I learned the lesson. I no longer make a video. I don't go outside and make a video 3 times just to have people go, I didn't even see it. No way. The last assignment people did, I gave video feedback. 22 people, and every one of them, I asked a question. Well, I wonder, did you ever wonder why this student did that? Could you write me back and tell me? 3 people responded. I learned my lesson. I will never again spend 22 people. I don't care what you try to do. It's 10 minutes per person. That's 220 minutes it took me to respond to one of 8 small assignments. If I'm going to do that, you're going to write something back. I want to at least know that you did it. So you get 1 point for doing this, and then you get 1,000 points for writing back and saying, I watched your video, Folse. So my background, 40 years of teaching. Yeah, that's a real number, I'm sorry to say. I studied 6 languages, Spanish. My Spanish is pretty fluent. I'm certified to teach French, Arabic. Arabic used to exist for me. Malay used to exist to me. My Japanese is pretty good. I was in Japan in December, was able to get around. And German, this is my 3rd time doing German. My 1st time really trying to do German. I took German before just to get check marks. And I got, you know what my goal was? To get a check mark. And you know what I got? A check mark. That's all I needed. Canvas I've done for over 8 years now. I found something last night of 2013 and Zoom for about a year, but the big difference now is I've been a real student in an online 2nd language classroom. And the fact that it's German is neither here nor there. It's a real classroom. When I was doing German, what am I trying to do? I always say, why are people taking your class? We know that some people take English just to get a check mark in English. And it's like when I had to take 6 credits of biology when I was in college to get certified. I wasn't trying to become a biologist. And in fact, I can only remember one thing of both classes, meiosis and mitosis, because I missed that item on the test and had studied, and I crammed. I didn't study, I crammed and still missed it on the test. That's why, I don't remember which is which, but I remember that it's a problem. Anyway, learner needs. Why are they in your class? Are they here to pass TOEFL? Are they trying to pass a test or what? And then for me, any language, it's all about vocabulary, and vocabulary lends itself really well to the online setting, more so than lots of things I can think of. And interaction, well, in order for this German class to be kind of cool, I would like to speak German, and not with myself and not with a classmate. I mean, I'll speak with a classmate if I have to. I would like to speak to a German person, or if it's possible. It's not always possible, but I'm going to show you how I got around that. So I'm thinking of learner needs. What do they really want to do? Vocabulary. How can I help them with vocabulary in English, German, whatever it is, and then interaction. And I've arranged to talk today into several facts, if you will, and then I'm going to give you like 6 ideas. And then the first thing to make sure we're all on the same page about, and I'm sure we already know this, but just to be sure that there are different kinds of online classes. There's an asynchronous class. And my university, University of Central Florida, we are the largest university in the United States. It depends which year. I think we're the largest again this year with about 62,000 students. So 62,000 students can't fit on any campus, all of them. A lot of classes are online. Like, we're encouraged to put stuff online pre-COVID because it saves parking spaces and it saves classrooms. But when you have an asynchronous class, everything is due Sunday night, 11:59, and that's kind of how it works. Do your stuff, turn it in, and you're good. Synchronous classes at my university pre-COVID, we were not allowed to have any synchronous online classes. Forbidden. Now we have a worldwide pandemic. You can definitely do it, but you can't really penalize students for not coming. Well, that's not possible, what you just described. And we have a mixed scenario with Canvas and Zoom. I use the letter C in some of my classes right now. I'll talk about. So this is one class that I teach. This is an undergraduate. It's a junior level class, hence the 3,000. And it's a class for those who are not English majors or TEFL majors or ESL majors. These are native English speakers majoring in everything on the planet, but they might want to teach English conversation in Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia for a year or 2. And yeah, the people in EPIC, people in JET, the people who are my students who are qualified for JET and who usually are chosen by JET are people we have a small TEFL certificate. It's TEFL Light, but this is the intro class that I teach, let's say roughly 30 to 35 students each time. And this class I teach with Canvas and Zoom. There are weekly modules. I have lots and lots of small assignments. Number 1 complaint from my class is, how do I keep up with all the assignments? And then I realized I didn't explain it well, because we have lots and lots of small assignments. So in Canvas, the nature of the beast, if it has a due date, it populates the calendar. I now understand this even better. And that's what people are going to do. I don't care how nice your modules are, unless you have modules where you've gone in, if you know Canvas really well, you can actually lock, if your module has 8 steps to it, 8 pieces to it, and the quiz is number 6, you can put them in lockstep order where I can't access 6 unless I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And whatever you told me, in number 1, I might have to get a check mark. In number 2, I have to get an 80 or better. Number 3, I just have to open it. There's a way to do that. I don't have that set up like that in my classes with a lockstep order yet, but lots of small assignments. And I have a quiz that's due online. My class starts at 1:30. The quiz shuts down at 1:30 there, and I don't reopen the quizzes. Quizzes can be taken up to 3 times, no time limit, open book. I want you to cheat. I want you to read. I want you to, worst case scenario, people come to class, they know the content of the quiz, and that allows me to teach a better class. I'm not here to go over the textbook with you verbatim, because that's kind of what you're supposed to do. This is a little different class now. This is where, training future teachers. I'm not going to teach you the whole chapter. I'm adding icing on the cake. I'm not doing the cake in this kind of class. And in the Zoom, we do lectures, we do class activities, and we have guest speakers. One of the coolest things about Zoom and the pandemic, one of the positives is I can have lots more guest speakers than I ever had before from all over the planet. So I have these are future teachers in theory, for but teachers with a small t, right? They're only gonna do it for a year or 2. And so I have previous students from my university who are now teaching in Korea, teaching in Japan, teaching in China, teaching in Saudi Arabia, and they can actually Zoom into my class. And that's just the coolest thing ever. I have to cajole someone to sign in at 3 a.m. in Korea, okay? But it's the coolest thing because that's just wouldn't be possible pre-COVID. Here's my German class. This was the first one. You can see what the shell looked like. It's a very light shell. So I'm signing up for German online. This is gonna be so cool. And I thought I'll learn German and I'll get to be a student in a Zoom kind of class. I get to see what other people do. One of the problems of us, all of us collectively teaching in Zoom is we were never a Zoom product, right? When you first started teaching, you didn't maybe know how to teach, but if you had a teacher who stood in front of the board as the person was writing on the board, and you want to think, would you move your big behind so I can please see? Like common sense. And what did you learn? This is when I was in 2nd grade. I'm thinking, my gosh, so-and-so's a good teacher. Why? She doesn't stand in front of her own writing. All of us sort of had the benefit of this. I don't know, we were in training to be teachers for 12 years of our lives when we were in 1st through 12th grade, right? And with Zoom, we never had that. Grant, you can watch a YouTube video. It ain't the same. It's just not the same thing because I've had 12 years of watching someone like, please don't do it. We've all had teachers go, oh my gosh, I hate when she does that. And you learn, oh, never do that with my students, right? So I thought that's what I was getting, but you know what I got? This class was 100% asynchronous. 100%. We have Zoom. We don't use Zoom. You know what you use Zoom for? If you want to have office hours. So I thought, okay. And today I'm going to talk about some of the problems that I learned as a student, that assignments that we teachers give, that I thought, oh my God, if you knew how hard this is to do now that we don't have anybody in the classroom. So idea number 1. It's incredibly lonely. You have no idea how lonely it is as a student in one of these Zoom classes. You see a grid. Yeah, those grids aren't real people who are all together, right? I don't care if you do the grid 20 by whatever, 40 by 45 by 5, whatever your grid size is, it's lonely. And so, but you can help. So for example, one of our first assignments was we had to make a flip grid video with a partner because we're learning basic German. So basically I had to find a partner, and then we had a dialogue, and I would read, hello, Michael, how are you? I would say, hello. And if Michael and I, hello, Michael, how are you? And you would say, you had a dialogue. Don't leave the script. Hello, Keith, how are you? And I would say, I'm fine, thank you. And you? And then I would have to ask you, and it was, what are you? And it was verb ing. What are you eating? And you would say, I'm eating a sandwich. Okay, thank you, goodbye. Not a very real kind of conversation, but the idea was we can't be in a classroom where we're all speaking German all the time. What's the next best thing? Exactly what she did, the flip grid thing. But you know what the problem is? How do I find a partner? You might say, I'll assign partners. I just today had a WhatsApp conversation with a Colombian friend of mine who's studying English in Dallas, Texas, who was complaining
vociferously, vehemently, all the V adverbs tonight, about the fact that he has this small group project where they don't know each other. And how do they contact each other? And one person has not even responded yet. So they're all getting stuck doing my Colombian friend asked me, as a teacher, do you assign group work? And I said, I never assign group work. This is me. I never assign, pre-COVID, I never assigned group work outside of class because I hated being in group work outside of class because we have to get together. Just putting all the people together. I'll tell you a little MapQuest story in a minute in the German class as well. But I wrote my German teacher and I said, in Canvas, you know how it works in Canvas. You have like 60 options. You can enable all 60. My university has maybe 20 enabled. One of them is called people. When you click on people, you can see the roster. In my German class, I had no idea if there was 2 people or 20 or 100 people. And here's another thing. I'm motivated. I'm one of those people who wants to get an A or a B or a check mark plus. I'm a Virgo. I want a check plus here, all right? So you know what? I don't want to just work with people. I want to work with the people who want to be here. Who are the good students? How would I know? After we had to make our first Flipgrid introduction of ourselves, and we had to do our second one. The second one, you had to just talk about something for, I don't know, talk about something in the kitchen for 1 minute. It was very short. I watched them all. And I'll tell you what, your students are going to, if they're like me, if you're a normal, I consider myself normal, I watched all the videos. I don't watch all the teachers' videos. I watch all the students' videos when they're short, 90 seconds. So I was talking earlier with Curtis about Flipgrid. Flipgrid, set it to 90 seconds. Do not go more than 90 seconds. So that student and I had 90 seconds to finish our dialogue. If we didn't finish it, then you know what? We would lose points. What did we do? We remade it over and over. It's one of the big pluses of Flipgrid I'll talk about in a minute. Just enable the people button, okay? In MapQuest, the German teacher once had us go to something in our book that was in English. It's about Vienna. And you had to get a map of Vienna and then label some places, like label the library, a supermarket. It was kind of, basically we're practicing nouns on a map. Do you know how long it took me to download that app and figure out how to work it? I'm on YouTube. The assignment was 120 seconds, 2 minutes. I spent 25 minutes just trying to get the whiteboard white. You know how frustrating that was? You know what I remember about that assignment? Not a single word, not supermarket, which I know now because I'm in German too, but none of the words. The language lesson was lost. You know what I remember? Never inflict that pain on my it's a really easy thing. No, Flipgrid is cool because Flipgrid at my university is one of the 60 buttons that my university is paid for. When I enable it, it's done. And everybody pretty much knows Flipgrid. And so, yeah, it was bad. When I did that assignment, I didn't know. I emailed the top 3, who I thought were the top 3 people in class. One guy wrote back right away and said, yeah, I'll be your partner. Thank you. I said, okay, we're it. The next day, the other 2 people wrote me and I felt so bad having to tell, I'm so sorry. But maybe, you know, Michael, you can work with Curtis because they both, you know, but I was kind of fixing people up in class. That's not my job.
I don't like Curtis.
Okay, well, okay, well, if you want to get an A, you probably don't. You're right. Okay, but okay, but he has a cool cat thing. All right. That'll get the teacher's attention and make her get her eyes off the rubric for a while. How's that? Okay. So yeah, she can't help but be giving points for the cat thing. But seriously, enable the people button. And before you think you're doing something really cool with this really cool little app, think it's not cool. Please don't do that. Please don't. I'm busy. I learned no German that time. I was a failure. I didn't. And then also breakout rooms. So I wrote a book on using Zoom. And for a chapter in this book, I actually interviewed students, I interviewed teachers, kindergarten teachers who also are using Zoom, up to university professors. And I also, a third group was I interviewed parents of students. Now that doesn't impact my university people, and also probably your students. But if you're teaching, you know, high school or junior high, there are parents involved. And one thing that the students said consistently was, they liked breakout rooms. I've had teachers tell me, I don't use breakout rooms because it's a waste of time. Oh, no, no, no. You know, I don't know anybody in my class. When you put me in a breakout room, at least I get a chance to know somebody. And not for 90 seconds. Make us introduce ourselves first. What a waste of time. They're talking to each other in Korean. No, in the real world, pre-COVID, you saw people physically, and you could kind of size up who's good and who's not good, who's nice and who's not nice, who's approachable and not approachable, and who might be good with English or not. All that's gone. All that's gone now. So your only option is those videos. That's why I watch those videos so much. And then the breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are not a waste of time. Even if they're speaking their native language, it's camaraderie and unity, which is essential to motivation in the class. If you're trying to teach a class and not 30 individuals, your choice. But I'm lonely in this class. Idea number 2, tech things really happen. They really, really happen. Sometimes they're trying to give you some nonsense about why their homework couldn't be done or what happens. Now, here's what I've learned a long time ago, pre-COVID. This is from my class. In every class I teach, I create 2 discussions, one called Raise My Hand for any question about any assignment or any page, whatever it is, and I pin that discussion. When you pin it, it means it's always at the top of your Canvas page, no matter what you do. And the other one that I pin always is one called Zoom or Tech Issues, because I don't handle Zoom and I don't handle tech, but our university has tech people. And our students have been instructed. There's one of the other links on on our home pages. There's a thing that says if it's your first time taking a class with Canvas, click here and go do all this other stuff. But that's not a Keith Folse problem. But because I remember reading something years ago, you know what students, 2 things that students say about online classes pre-COVID. Again, when I was trying to be better at teaching online, I read so much research, and 2 things stuck out in my head. Number 1, students in online classes expect you to be there 24/7, because when I signed in, you should be there, but you're not there. So one way you get around it is you have these 2, Raise My Hand and the Tech Issues, because even though you're not there, if you have 30 students, somebody else might be there. And I encourage my students, if you see someone has a question that you know the answer for, please answer it. This is supposed to be an active discussion board, and I'll give extra points if people answer someone's question, right? I want this to be not just a fake, pin discussion, but a real discussion place. So how many questions did he say are on the quiz? When people write me that, I say, please post it to the Raise My Hand, and I'll answer it there, because other people probably have the same question. Yeah, take some training, but all my classes operate that way, all right? Let's see, so that people expect you to be there 24/7. And the second thing is people expect feedback on everything. And that's just normal human nature. In the pre-COVID, when I have a bunch of students doing a discussion, they have 8 groups discussing something, and they're in groups of 3s. And I'll say, group 5, what did you say? Group 3, what did you say? Group 2, can you write your answers on the board while group 6 tells us theirs? I don't call on all the groups, but in an online setting, you might not. I don't agree with the concept of it, but it's a fact from all the things I read. 2 things that students in online classes said pre-COVID was, I like that class because the teacher seemed to always be there. And the second thing was he gave lots of feedback about everything. So a lot of times it'll be watch this video, and you click true, there's an automatic thing that says great job or blah, blah, blah. I don't care that it's not something that you personally wrote to me as a student, but I like getting more than a check mark. But I certainly expect the check mark. Everything. Okay. Raise your hand if you have a question. Okay. It's worth 1 point. Do people want a point for doing that? I'll give you a point for that. So I have lots of little Mickey Mouse things in my courses. You get 1 point. The 1 point is actually a big deal, because if it's only worth 1 point, that's 100 or a 0. It's really not 1 point. If it were 100 points and I gave you a 99, that would be 1 point. All right. So this discussion, you know what it costs me to do this? It costs me 10 minutes at the beginning of a class. But every course, and if you taught with Canvas, one of the positives of an online class is when you teach it the second semester, you just import your old class and then add icing to the cake, right? Improve it. And these things are always there. Always, always. Now, I don't only have those 2. If we're in week 7, the discussion for week 7 will also be in the pin section. All right. As a student, I appreciate that, because when I sign in, here's one of the bad things. Maggie Sokolik, California TESOL, pointed out in a session, she was saying one of the problems of discussions in Canvas is they're not real discussions. On Facebook, when I post my picture and Curtis hits the like button or say, oh my gosh, 3 people liked it. Who liked my thing? Who made this comment? Now, if you go to a student's answer and you make a comment in the discussion, and it was not an assignment. In assignments, it keeps track of assignments. But if it's just a discussion board where you expect people to go say stuff, there's no record of it. So if in this case, if Justin posted something, I don't get a notification that says Justin posted something. And when I write something, no one knows. So I'm thinking, I sent back these, I posted a video, no one watched it. Oh my God, note to self, Keith Folse. If you don't make it worth a point, it doesn't register in a meaningful way to a student. And what is that meaningful way? How do we operationalize that in 2021? The to-do list. People respond to those I want green check marks over there. I don't want any red X's. Red X's are bad. Even the slowest student knows that. Idea number 3. This is a language teaching tip, language learning tip. Whenever I learn a new language, and this is language number 7 or 8 or something I'm on now, the teacher teaches a new word, I size that word up. It's the word for something in German, but we didn't have the German word. How do you say something? Thing. How do you say thing? Because in English we say one good thing, most important thing, 2 of the best things about that car are. So I got the word D-I-N-G-E, Dinge, which is thing. And you know what? In my German class and with my German tutor I've hired, or German conversation partner, I never heard that word. And I thought, oh. And I asked him one day, and he says, yeah, we don't use that word. What do you use? And why didn't anyone tell me? I've been saying this word. They use a word, it's like affair or like this matter. Yeah, Schache or something like that. Der, die, das, I don't know. That's got to be in German 3, I don't know. But the point is, every time I learn a word, as a learner, I size, if I were learning Korean, you taught me the Korean word for a pot holder. You know, you have a frying pan, it's really hot. There's this thing little piece of cloth you might use. Suppose you taught me the Korean word for that. And I've thought, I would see the word and you say, it's this thing. As a learner, I would reject that word. As an experienced L2 learner, I would reject that. I'll smile to you, but I'm thinking, not bothering. I cannot ever imagine having to know that word. Now, I try to train my students to do that. So every time you learn a word, and you're a Korean student, you're learning a new word in English, you're low level, which, and I appreciate, I love the level, the Zilchos and the level 1's the best. You learn a new word in English. Today's word is, I don't know, frying pan. And think, well, if I were a Korean speaker, I would want to say, I need a frying pan to cook an egg. But I don't know how to say in English, I need, and to cook an egg. So what I would do is I do in my head in German, a German word, I make the whole sentence in English and insert the German word where I think it goes. I'm using that German word, not in context. That people get all excited over that word. And the most important thing is I'm using that word because I'm thinking, I could imagine using that. I could imagine needing or wanting to use that word. That's okay. Sometimes the reason you want to say the word is not a good reason. In German, one of the first words that every YouTube video, every German 1 book does is Spinne, which means spider. And I asked my German tutor, are you guys have something about spiders? Spiders seem to be everywhere. He's like, no. I said, yeah, der Spinne, die Spinnen. I know the irregular plural form of spiders. I don't know that in other languages. So this is not an accident. You don't accidentally learn spiders. It's like children. It's one of those nasty irregulars. And then Google Translate. I'll talk about the power of Google Translate. I know that might turn off a lot of teachers, but I use it in a really good way. So I train learners, practice in your head, whatever you're doing. There have been several articles about, it's called the din, the D-I-N, the noise, the din in your head. It's the conversation you have with yourself about your target language. If you study the language, you practice it in your head. It's sometimes not all Korean. It's a mix of Korean and English. It's okay because you're at the Korean mixed with English level. If you spoke only Korean in your head, we'd be shocked. Your teacher would be flabbergasted. You're at level 1 doing that because it ain't gonna happen. Yeah, and then use Google Translate wisely. I'll show you an example of that. So vocabulary, this is an old book of mine, Vocabulary Myths, but for those who think translations are bad, and I say this because I'm saying translating is good. I am not encouraging a class taught in Korean, but I am encouraging teachers to not pretend that 30 Korean students don't have a first language, okay? That seems ludicrous to me. When I learn a new language, of course I'm translating in my head. What, is that spider? Is that what she's, seriously, is that spiders? Is that the plural? That's the conversation I'm having in my head. to the best of my knowledge, and this is my main research here, there is absolutely no second language research showing that translations are bad. And in fact, lots of research showing that when learners are initially, that's the key word, initially given access to an L1 translation to learn their L2 word, that's how people initially learn words. Yeah, but they can't use the word yet. That's why we said initially learn. I need to learn that that word means spider. Now, I don't know if is it like in German, there are three ways of saying the word the. I don't know how to say the spider. I can't say spiders with an S because in German, every word, there aren't regular plurals. Every word is in our English brain irregular. They're all children words. But if you want more information, Vocabulary Myths has an online version, but chapter 4 is all about the research supporting, not just supporting, encouraging translations. That turns a lot of people off, but I'm not saying to translate everything. I'm just saying that when you're learning vocabulary in that specific use and learning a word initially, that the research is clear that an L1 access to that word initially, word, idiom, phrase, whatever it is the best way for the learner to get that form initially. I can't say initially more times than I just have done, I don't think. Idea 4. Learners need vocabulary. You can't speak a language without words. You can get by with limited grammar. You really can. For those who, I don't know how some of you in Korea, how long you've been there, but those who, when you first were learning Korean, you go into a store, you just got to say X, Y, or Z. I need the word for tofu. I need the word for flour, F-L-O-U-R. I need that word. That's all I need. I don't need buy. I don't need 3 bags. I don't need, I would really like, because I want to make some bread. I just need flour. Well, that's not real communication. Being level 1 is not real either, but it is, all right? So, but if you don't have the words for things, you know, people don't get hung up over, oh my God, how do you say, how, I'm sorry, I can't continue the conversation in Korean because I don't know the past perfect progressive no, I don't know the word for admonish. I don't know the word for scold. That'll stop a conversation. The better learners are the ones who know how to circumnavigate that and work around it, right? So when you're learning a language, we talk about you actually want communication to break down. I want a little learning task where I know you're going to be confused about something, and it forces your brain to go around it, and that makes you figure out things about your language. Well, I can't say that in English. What can I say, right? So I remember in Japan trying to talk about flour, komugi, and I kept calling it, I said, before bread, because that's all I knew, right? It didn't get the flour bought, FYI, but the story is in that book, okay? 3 vocabulary tips from me as an experienced language learner. Keep a notebook, and then give points for it. So you might have a discussion board where people have to post 1 English word per week. That's all. And put the Korean translation and put a sentence from their dictionary, because they're going to copy anyway, and then put an original sentence. And it's worth 2 points, whatever it is. People will respond to points because points generate a due date. I wish my German teacher would do that. Now, I'm going to sit there and read everybody else's words. What'll probably happen is people will put some bad words. I don't mean like curse words or something, you know, I mean, nasty language. They'll look up, oh, I need a word like extinguish. Now, you don't need, in German too, we don't need the word for extinguish, but a lot of people are not good language learners yet and aren't ever going to be because they just want to take the German 2. When they take German 2, they now have 6 credits of German, they're gone. They never were taking this class to learn German. Other people, and that's me, and I can know 2 others in my class that I want to work with, we're really trying. Keep a notebook, make it worth points. Online discussion, post a word and a simple sentence with the word in caps, and then word a day. I signed up for this thing called German Word a Day, and yeah, I do that. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is what I do. So every day at midnight, 2 more hours from now, I get the German word. The word was wichtig, and wichtig means important. It tells me part of speech, adjective. There's a simple sentence in German. No sentences in German are simple. And there's the English sentence here. It says, I have an important meeting on Monday. Now, can you match up some of the words with English? What's different? Here's what I notice as an experienced learner. On Monday goes first, and the word for on is am. And then in German, when you don't begin with the subject, this is probably the single biggest grammar rule. When you don't begin with the subject, you have to invert it. So you say have I, and then a has to have an en because it's now an object. And even the word for wichtig is, see, our word wichtig became wichtigen. Why? Well, I know why now. And then termin. Termin is the word for appointment. I learned a new word. Those are the things that if you were an experienced language learner, you might pick out. Or if we had a real class with a real teacher teaching live, she would point these things out. But I don't have that, right? It's just me, myself, and I. So here's what I do. I have a Google Doc. I have learned Google Docs. I started last November. I did never use Google Docs before that. So I create, okay, you see the 1, 2, 3, 4. First, I write the date from when the word happened. Then number 2, I write the German word was schreiben, which means, you know, to write. It's our English word scribe. Then I copy the English translation. I wrote you a long email yesterday. I have number 1, then number 2. Then in number 3, I try to write that sentence. I don't cheat. I don't look at the German translation yet. I try to write it, and that's what I wrote. And then I copy the German situation there, and then I highlight things that are different. So in English, in German, you can't say I wrote. You have to say I have written. I have written you a long email yesterday. So the word for written, I got the past participle wrong. Why? I'm level 2. That's why. But I do this. Would the average person do it? I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. If you don't train your learners to do something with vocabulary, that's what they'll do with it, nothing. And if you don't make it worth a point and a due date, nobody will do it. A lot of people will do garbage, true, but I'll bet half your class will do things that are interesting. So I'm teaching I'm teaching everybody here, not just, you know, well, so-and-so doesn't want to do it because they're not serious. I'm not gonna do that. It doesn't have to be daily, maybe even just once a week. All right, practical ideas. Here's another book idea, the academic word list. It's a University of Michigan Press. You can get on Amazon, but it's a whole section on practical ideas for dealing with word lists and words. Because teachers will ask me, well, what's a good word list? Well, here's a good word list. And then they give the list of 500 words to their students. Oh, that's horrible teaching. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. You talk about a turnoff to a student, and what do I do with it? I don't see it in the to-do list. I'm not doing it, but thank you for the list. Idea 5 is crucial. You need people. I need human interaction. How do you learn a language alone? Ich lerne Deutsch allein. I'm learning German alone. I can actually say that now. And it may be right, who knows, okay? But the point is, we're learning German alone, and I'm trying to circumnavigate that problem. So suppose in my German class, I would like to form a study group. I want to get a group together on Friday night to meet. How would I do that? I don't know who's in the class. I don't know, are you a nice person? I'm 62 years old. Most of the people in the class, everybody else but the 62-year-old, is probably 20. Imagine a 62-year-old gray beard person approaching a 22-year-old co-ed and asking to study on a Friday night at 9 p.m. That's not going to go over well. I want to keep my job. So how do I get around that? I'm serious. How do I approach people without coming across as weird? Okay, here's what we do. Well, I actually needed a conversation partner. So I went, and I know there are lots of free places where you can language exchange. None of them was any good for me. I'm sorry, I tried. So I decided to pay. There's a site called preply.com. I went to Preply and I found, to be honest, the cheapest German conversation partner I could at $17 an hour. But he was good, don't get me wrong. Here's what's kind of a cool thing. If you want for your students an assignment, every tutor here, and they're English tutor. Tutor's a wrong word, they're conversation partners. I say tutor because I expect you to teach me something. We don't have organized classes. We literally, I have hour-long conversations in German from day one. You know how scared I was to go to the first class? This is not like a classroom you can kind of get by the door and kind of see who's in there before you go in, or go sit in the back of the room. I'm half the room. He knows when I'm there, and it's all in German. But Preply has all of the teachers that might become your teachers or your partners. They all make a video of themselves talking about German. They're Korean teachers there. So a really cool assignment for your English students, especially lower level, would be go watch those videos of the English teachers, and then tell me the name of 2 teachers that you would like to take classes with and why. Here's why it's good for low-level students. Every teacher starts with the same, hello, hi, my name is Keith. I live in Florida. I have been teaching present perfect progressive. I've been teaching English for 12 years. I want to help you with your, everybody, and they can't do 2 hours of a video. It's a short little 90-second thing. And I watched all the German ones. I chose my tutor because he was one of the few who actually spoke German. Almost everybody else spoke English. And you know what their message was? German is really hard, and I will help you. No, you already, it's hard. You told me that. You don't sound, no, you don't sound even upbeat. If I'm going to lose this battle, it's going to be for a different reason than having a sourpuss as a teacher. Sorry, okay? So, and also, I will tell you this, for those, anyone who has your students in Korea, Japan, wherever, who want to have conversation partners with in the United States, my students who are going to become future teachers with a small t, right? These are just native speakers trying to get a little training. They have to complete 8 hours of conversation. So make sure you get my email down and email me and say, you have students who want to have free conversation. How good is the conversation? It's free. It's worth every penny. That's how good it is, okay? Your college, your university students will talk to university students. I can guarantee you that. And my students know the topic, and they arrange it's usually one-on-one or two-on-one, and they arrange they email each other and decide whether they're going to use Canvas or Google Meets or whatever it is, and they meet, and then my student sends me a report about what they talked about in 2 or 3 language issues. But please let me know. Let's see, go back over here now. All right, so here's one, a concrete thing about pair work and group work outside of class, online. Please don't do it. I never would have said this pre-COVID, okay? But yeah, it's just too hard. How will I find a partner? I've talked about this already. Will they show up? After I chose the first partner and I said yes, and then I had to write, then the other 2 people I had to reject politely. When I got there at 5 p.m. on a Sunday, the assignment's due at 11:59. It's now 5 p.m. I'm sweating bullets a little bit. What happened? My guy was late. He came 12 or 13 minutes late. I kept thinking, oh my God, I've done everything right. I even rejected good people. And he showed up and we were able to make the video. That's not fair. And are they good at English? How would I know? Unless you have them do Flipgrid videos where they're talking about themselves or about their favorite vacation or car or something. Tell me 3 words in English that are hard for you to pronounce, and they'll all stumble. It's kind of a funny thing to watch people try to pronounce words they can't pronounce, right? All right, let's see, next one here. A Flipgrid. So have them make a video, 90 seconds. This is something I didn't realize. When we have an assignment that's due with a Flipgrid video and it's 90 seconds, and you think, well, you can only have one chance to make the video because I'm gonna be kind of a hard-nosed person. Oh, don't do that. No one really knows what 90 seconds is in German. I mean, the words are longer. Cut me some slack here, right? But you know what happens? I almost always remake the video. And I calculate that I make my videos between 3 and 6 times before I finally hit submit this video. In other words, if you have 30 students who are making a minute and a half video, that would be 45 minutes of video in theory, right? But in reality, because they're doing it 5 and 6 times or even 2 times, there's a lot more English happening than what you're giving credit for. And I can't stress this enough. I never saw that my students get to do this 5 times, right? Quizzes, all my students can take every quiz up to 3 times and only your highest score counts. I can see how many times you're taking the quiz. When you make a 70 and you only took it 1 time, I have no sympathy. But this is great. Idea 6, my last one for today. Navigating an online course is hard no matter how great you or I have arranged that course. My course is so easy to navigate. It's all right there. It's on the home page. I couldn't find the button for it. Well, it's on the home page. Oh, I thought I was going to click on the button that said quizzes on the left-hand side. Well, no, because no, everything's hard. So the example I always give is I have videos and I make a video for a week or a video about present perfect, whatever's happening, and my students don't know it exists. I have module number 4. No one knows it. In theory, they know it exists, but there's nothing on their to-do list for tomorrow night, for Sunday night, telling them to do it. Hence, it's not there. But if you create an assignment or a quiz, it's there. And not because it's an assignment or a quiz, but because it suddenly has a due date. Due date triggers your LMS, your learning management system to put it on the student's to-do list. And that's how the real world functions. So I'll stop with that. Michael, if you want to open up to questions, if anybody has any questions or comments. And yeah, and also I give credit to this Slides Go, which is where I found I think these are really cool PowerPoint slides. This is just a gray one, so this is not one of theirs, but the pretty ones are those things, okay? There we go.
How do I follow that? On fire, Keith Folse. Does anyone have a question? Let's just start with that.
I just put something in the chat. In Japan, we have these kind of like 1980s learning management systems we use instead of Canvas, which is really sad. But what are people in Korea using?
Ours is called Iruri at my school. It's actually not bad now that we know it exists. But before I knew it existed, I just used Google Classroom.
Yeah, if you can get Canvas, it's really amazing.
There we go.
I think I'm back now, yes. Sorry, this is the first time it's ever happened. Of course, it should happen at the closing of a presentation. It disappeared completely, and it said you can send a report to Zoom. I chose not to do that today, and get back here right away. Any questions or comments?
I think a lot of us are just stunned at the amount of information we just got.
Sorry about that. So
No, it's all because you can go back and watch this over and over and over again.
I think the big takeaway for me was.
Let me ask Keith, I've got one. What are your favorite pieces of online teaching software, necessarily for teaching, but even for like managing your information, besides Canvas, Zoom, and Flipgrid?
Well, for me, something that I've always wanted to try, this is not rocket science. To me, it is rocket science, but it's not really. It's just plain old Google Docs. And that might sound crazy. Here, you know, I'm a member of a lot of different Facebook groups, and I'm a member, I think, of 3 or 4, maybe 5 Facebook groups for K-12 teachers in the United States. And they're struggling with Canvas, and it all depends on whether their district had to choose Canvas or not. But they keep talking about the benefits of using the Google suite of things. I'm a big Gmail user, but Curtis, I never explored any of the other stuff. It just seemed overwhelming to me. I thought, oh my gosh, another one. But when I teach class now, what I do is I create a Google Doc. When we have a synchronous Zoom meeting, I create a Google Doc, and in that Google Doc, I have I have 22 students. I've got 20. It's a grid, 23 by 2. And on one side it says name, and then whatever the assignment today is, but have the students' names. And the first thing we do, and also it'll say today's date, week 7, class number 2, because we have twice a week, week 7, class 2. And there is the Google Doc link for that Google Doc. That might seem crazy, but why? Because when I get ready to teach class, I open the PowerPoint for the day, minimize it, you know, because it might take forever to open, and I open the Google Doc and I minimize it. And then when I go to the Google Doc, the first thing I do is I copy that link and I post it in the chat group and say, okay, all my students go to the Google Doc, and what they do is there's something of the day. Sometimes I'll say, because I do a lot of what we call teacher to teacher because they're future teachers. So I'll say, this is last week's problem. At my university, I'm required to teach 8 class meetings live in a physical classroom. My unit, because they want bragging rights of saying to the parents, we actually have classes live now. I have to go March 16th is a class I have to go. So I told my students, because some of them asked, well, why March? Why not January? And I said, well, what do you think? Teacher to teacher, why do you think I chose to do this? Because I had a choice, serenity prayer, things you control, things you don't control. I had a choice. Why would I choose to do this in March and not January? Because the question that was initially, Curtis, why all my other teachers had 8 meetings in January and February. Why are you doing it on March 16th? Well, it has to do with the severity of COVID. That's why. If it was gonna be bad back in October when we were making this decision, I thought it would be worse in January after students have gone home for Christmas break. By March, you've cross-infected everybody and you're already out of quarantine potentially. And maybe it's not true, but it was the hand I decided to play given the cards I've been dealt. But I do that. I say, okay, everybody, right now, I want you to go in that area and write what you think we would do. And that's how I take attendance. Did anyone write something there? Or sometimes the question is just, the chapter we read for homework last night, today we're talking about teaching present perfect today. Does anyone have one idea that stands out? And then they now know I'm going to ask that. So they kind of come to class with something to write in the box. And it's not rocket science, but Curtis, what I know is that Google Docs can do a whole lot more than I'm doing with it. I know that. And it's overwhelming to me. Because what I need is when I talk to people in workshops about this, because TESOL, California TESOL has done many workshops for this. And actually TESOL has a really good library of videos where you can watch teachers teaching teachers about this. But the problem is that when people tell me about Google Docs, I don't get people who slow down enough so far. And this might sound kind of weird if you know Google Docs or whatever it is. I don't know it I know what I know, and I don't know page 2. And I'm not going to do page 2 in front of 22 people that I'm supposed to look good in front of. But when people will say, you can do so many things, you do this and this and this. No, slow down. Whoa. What do you teach English? Tell me in your English class, name one thing from Google Docs that you use, and then let me see an example. I don't want you to talk me through how to make it. I don't want you to talk me how to make lasagna when I've never seen lasagna. I don't know what lasagna is. So please don't start out with the steps in making lasagna. I get that a lot. And I just think people who aren't level 1 teachers, you don't specialize in the Zilcho level. And I mean it with true affection. So I just wish I could I had more expertise of the suite of Google Docs. I'm also reluctant to do a lot of stuff in front of my students, if you will. One thing, not managing data, but Flipgrid has been a lifesaver because, and then once my university put it in the suite of things that the UCF, my university, allows us to have free access to. In other words, I don't have to force embed it. It's already there, which means I know it's going to interact peacefully with Canvas at my university. And when I'm in that K-12 setting, people will say, oh, you can do this and this and this. There's so many ideas. It's scary. So Curtis, one of the things I would also say is how do I manage information? I go to those Facebook groups and hang out. Because if you get overwhelmed, you click and go watch TV, turn on Netflix or something, go watch something that's not as scary. But you mostly have teachers teaching teachers. And with the K-12, the environment in the K-12 online chat groups is what I find in that Teaching Synchronously in Korea group on Facebook. People are friendly. Nobody's out to I can't believe you asked that question. Says nobody in the K-12 group. It's like, oh, but it's a lot of, I'm from the South, but people are thinking it's a lot of bless your heart. You asked that question. Yes, I asked that question. I know it's a stupid question, but no one makes me feel stupid. And I so appreciate that. It also emphasizes, I think, good teaching skills of being able to empathize with people who are level 1 and level 2 that a lot of students don't have. What are some things that you found? I mean, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but are things that this is overwhelming. There's so much stuff that's there.
Everything you said, yeah, Google Docs would be my next choice for that. But basically, we're trying not to use too many new things in our school because students get overwhelmed.
Yep.
So we're only allowed to use, we're told to use Zoom in our built-in LMS. But then my students are okay using Flipgrid. They love it. And again, another thing, it's the replies that are really good too, because the people feel like they're being watched. So 1 point for reply to some other student's video.
Yeah. And I will tell you, as a learner, again, I never thought about this, but believe me, if 22 people in my German class, there are 27 of us, I think. When 27 people make a video, well, first of all, not all 27 people do the assignment. I'm shocked that maybe 15 people do the assignment, right? And this week, I'm actually way behind, and the teacher this semester is not taking off any points for late at all. In German 1, every 24 hours, it's worth 5% less. So, and I thought, oh, So if I'm working at 11:59, I'm rushing and rushing. I look at the clock. I know I have 12 minutes left. Well, that's my fault for doing this late. I get it. But I'll go, you know what? I really want to understand this. I'm not going to hit the submit button because it's only worth 5 points. So that's when I thought, you know what? It's very pro learning to not give me a 0 for not turning it in because it's you can be a hard nose about it. You can do lots of things, but life happens. And I give lots of assignments. I know I give lots of assignments, right? One thing about the German thing, I don't know how she does it, but when I click on the assignments for next week, it'll say, this will take, I kid you not, it says, this will take you approximately 3 hours and 20 minutes to do all these things. I'm like, okay, I guess I shouldn't wait till Sunday. It's not at 10. It does that. Now, one thing that's different for me is the German book we have, the book is completely online. I have a paper version of the book. Why? Because I'm ancient. And when I started German back in July and I was afraid of the class, I said, I have to have a paper book. I have to, This is not just an online website. The whole book is there. You can do everything. It scores, and it's scary how much stuff it does. As somebody who writes textbooks, ESL is way behind the times with the languages. At least in my experience with this one company, I can't think what it is right now. Vista, VHS Vista, and love that German book. I wish I could write one in English, but no publisher I know has the technology. I won't name names. Some publishers I talk to now just about creating a canvas shell for my books that sell really well. And it's like talking, well, do you think people really, well, how would you do that? How would I do it? Let me show you, because people don't know Canvas. They don't have a clue. This part you can erase from the recording later, okay? So, no, but I do think it's interesting as a writer. Oh my gosh, get with the program. You want to make money? There's money to be made with this. Whoever's first or second or third, but whoever's going to be the 200th is too late. And you're about to, anyways. The German book is completely different. When I sign into German, it tells me, hey, you go to page 37. Like, how'd you know that? It knows. It sends me there. Yeah. What else? Any other questions or comments?
How many books have you written now? Is it 90?
78.
78.
Do I have the Zoom book here somewhere? I don't know where the Zoom book is. The Zoom book was kind of cool. I did this with Curtis. You did a book with Dorothy Zemak, did you not? Ways Goose Press. Did you not do one? Yeah. So yes, several people have. So yeah, Dorothy Zemak. I did a book with her on Zoom because I don't consider myself some Zoom expert, except that when I saw the people around me, I thought, oh my gosh, that is a stupid question. Teachers, as a teacher, we say that no such thing as a stupid question. You all know that's a lie. And oh my gosh, no wonder you can't get it to work if that's your question. And I'm being serious here. People just didn't have a clue. And I thought, you know what? I can do a book. I just wrote a book. It's a series of, it's Q&A. How do you start the damn thing? Here's how you do it. How does a student find me? How do I go to their classroom? You don't go to their classroom. You create the classroom. Okay. So, but I consider myself really good at the Zilcho level. I don't know. One small example. Driving home, had to go visit somebody, a sick relative today. We're driving home. My husband's driving. So driving home, and he knows that area. And I said, well, how do we get to where your mother is now? She's in a hospital. From where we are? Where's your mother? Well, she's XYZ. I mean, where? He's over there. Wait, there's a major road there. I said, do we have to cross 50? As a teacher, okay, you're explaining something. Okay, we don't say, well, blah, blah. We start off with, well, you remember how we did, right? You always connect to previous knowledge. Most people don't do that. People who aren't experienced with teachers, well, today we're going to do present perfect. No. Remember, look at this sentence, everybody. Remember when we wrote that sentence 2 weeks ago and we were talking about going to the store and we use, where are the verbs here? Before I even begin in minute 16 to start new verbs, we latch onto the old verb. And that's what's missing, I think. So that's the Zoom book. That's why I did it, because I thought, yeah, I know where they are. They're at a whiteboard. They're at a whiteboard and looking for the markers. And I can situate myself in that. And that's how I explained it. And then I went to the Korea, teaching synchronously in Korea online. I had the wrong word order there. And yeah, they were so helpful, and they put us in practice groups. And I mean, some of you were in that group, I know, and it was just so cool to do that. And then my university started doing that. The Korea group first had us do practices of how to, you can actually touch the breakout button, everybody, one by one. Big deal back in June, okay? Not a big deal, horrible thing. We do it every day in February, or whatever, but I appreciate my university now does sessions for that. Yeah, thank you for Michael for posting that. It's a great group. It's a great group. And you read the questions that people post there, and again, you'll read a question and think, bless her heart, she's new. Okay, so but it's okay, because you think, I remember when I had that question too, and it was a really big question for me, and people answered it without making me feel silly at all. The single best thing I did Zoom prep wise was that join that Korea group in Facebook, by far. I'm out of curiosity, when in Korea, is anyone teaching face-to-face at the university level? You are? So Justin, are you teaching face-to-face only? So only, Justin, can you unmute for a second?
Yeah.
I'm curious, tell me about your teaching situation now.
A year ago, we went fully online for the spring semester 2020. Then for the autumn semester, we were online for large classes, like 60 people. We don't have rooms that are big enough to space them out, and we were offline for small classes in large rooms, spaced out, of course, fully masked up and everything. Wow. Until we had a spike, and then we went online. So we have these various different kind of alert levels of the COVID situation. When it's a high level, we're fully online. When it's as it is at the moment, we're offline for small classes in large rooms.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to start on Tuesday again, going offline.
All right. All right. Well, good luck with all of that. Yeah. So I see. Yeah, it's just, I mean, my university, I don't know. I live in Orlando, Florida. Orlando it's all politically connected here. Orlando is a city where people can read. All right. People understand something called, what's that word? Science. Okay. And a mask kind of stops stuff from getting spread. So in Orlando, when I go shopping, I almost never see a person without a mask. I do see it occasionally. The vegetable store 2 days ago, a woman in there, and she made a point of talking really loudly at the register as I stood back 10 feet, not 6, but 10, because I couldn't go back 11 because then I would be in that guy's 6 feet space thing. But I thought, you're loud because you want us to know that you're here and you need to move on and take your germs with you. That's in Orlando. But when I went today to visit my mother-in-law, it's a different county. It's much more rural. It did not vote blue by a long shot at all. And I stopped twice to get soft drinks at 7-Elevens or convenience stores. And both times, one, I counted 5 people with no mask, and the other was 2 people with no mask. And that just, I don't see that here. It's just, so we have different levels. You said the different alert levels. Well, the alert level here is just, I'm lucky where I live. So I'm always curious to know what it's like where people are in, mask or no mask. And here, unfortunately, it's just, it's crazy. It's just, yeah. It ain't good. In my little bubble, it's very good. You ready to go? Okay. Now, how do you do that? Is that a real mask, or is that oh no.
Filter.
I need more toys.
Fantastic. All right. I get the feeling, looking at all of you, that you are all hungry.
Yes.
At least those of us who are in Korea and Japan are hungry because it's lunchtime. Thank you so much, Keith, for that session. What a way to finish off our 8th and last plenary. Woo! On fire. Feel free to join teaching synchronously online using Zoom, whatever it is, Facebook group. Head over to Discord, hang out there. I'm going to go have lunch. You should go have lunch or a snack or whatever. Keith, I think it's time for you to go to bed, maybe.
Oh, no. You get emails from me come at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I was up till 5. Listen, I'm just starting. I'm good.
Okay, go write another book then.
Okay, I'll do that. Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Selamat jalan, as we say in Malaysian.
Oh.
Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.